Hello and welcome here to the Season 15 qualifying session for the Daytona 500. We are here for the start of the season, and this is going to be the first time of the Season 15 for the Sony Cup Series that these drivers are going to be in new cars. Some of them are in their older cars from last season, and some of them are in newer cars. And then we got some rookies in this field as well. So qualifying is going to be quite interesting here. So teams are lined up at the same as last season. Everything is under the same circumstances. First car on the racetrack was Charles Jackson in the number 15 Chevrolet. Charles Jackson last season, he drove the number 16 car, ended up finishing 22nd in the point standings driving the 16 car. That car is driven by Eric Burton this season. And behind him, James Fox in the number 24. Eugene Demax did not get signed back in the 24. So James Fox, who came up last season, 20th in the standings, driving the number 25 team. He's going to have a very good car underneath him that finished 3rd in the standings with Eugene Demax. Richard Johnson, William Duncan coming to the racetrack here. Johnson, he was so close to being in the championship fight last season. Just barely after his Injultus was eliminated from his championship hopes. William Duncan, he had a terrible season last season. He drove the 90 team, and Duncan, a very good talented driver of the series, got put into one of the sorriest cars of the series, but still was able to keep his streaks alive with being in every race of the Sony Cup Series for such a long time. He's got a long streak of being in the races so far. Jake Bassinger moving over from the 01 team to the number 97. Bassinger finished 33rd in the standings in the 01 car, and now is in the number 97, which was driven by Alan Cavanaro, who finished 23rd in the points. So Bassinger has got a lot on his shoulders to bring the number 97 team higher in the standings than last season. Here comes Charles Sanford. Sanford actually, he did really well last season. He ended up finishing 9th in the points there, and he never had a win or a top 5 finish. Charles Sanford, he only had 5 top 10 finishes, and still was able to manage to get inside the top 10 in points. And in the underfunded Bill Davis Racing 23 team. So that's a real good job by Charles Sanford from last season. But too bad he got put in another sorry car this season, and was probably going to do even worse here. Nick Perkles drove that car for the second half of the season last season, got 45th in the points, and Sean Perkins, which drove a little bit of that car throughout the season, he also did not do very well as either. Alex Allen, I bet you he's pretty happy to be back in a competitive car, especially driving the 0 car from last season. He finished 34th in the standings last season. And Fox drove this car last season, who got a 20th place finish in the points. And we all know that 25 car isn't quite the best of the Hendrick stable, but maybe he could crack up there and try and be a championship contender this season. We all know that 25 power has enough power under the belt to do it. And here's the big pack of cars behind here. Tristan Woolhoyt, who took over the 43 car after Ohio, and that was the second half of the season. And even though Tristan only drove 9 races in the Sony Cup Series last season, he ended up finishing 42nd out of 45 cars in the points. So driving the number 88 team, the car that Noah Hart drove last season, and Hart did really well as well. Tristan's got a lot on his shoulders as well to improve right here. Jeff James, number 49, taking over from what James Shelley drove Jackie Tang drove last season. Tang finished 30th in the standings. Actually did kind of well to finish 30th in the standings. Tang did. But Jeff James did really well in the number 7. He ended up getting 24th in the points. So Jeff James, his biggest challenge this season will probably be trying to upset and win a race here. That'll be his big hopes here. Eric Burton back in the car he won the Season 9 championship with, but right now running along with a terrible pack of cars here. Charles Jackson finished 22nd in the points last season with that car. Not really sure where the standards are over there for the 16 team this season, but with Burton back with the championship running team from season 9, a lot is on his shoulders as well. Jonathan Skabnicki and the number 02. Skabnicki finished, I think he drove the... No. Jonathan Skabnicki, he drove the number 97 last season. I was getting him mixed up with Alan Cavanaro. Cavanaro drove the 19. Skabnicki drove... Oh, it looks like we had a spinner or somebody, but I can't really tell of who it was. But whoever it was... Oh, but it must have been Richard Johnson. He looks kind of slow. Here's what happened right here. The number 2 of Matthew Rodriguez, the number 97 of Jake Bassinger turned Richard Johnson around, barely missed the inside wall, so he was first on the board just then, but when they came across the line, he got dropped down to second. So, Richard Johnson, who was the fastest on the board just then, got dropped down to second position on the board. And look who is first on the board right now. Not no more. Not anymore. It was William Duncan. Whoever starts on the front row will get their starting positions unless they wreck in the Gatorade Duel. But who just got the fastest guy on the grid here? The fastest guy on the grid right now is James Shelley, the actual car that William Duncan drove for last season. That car is so underfunded, you guys have no idea. Just ask William Duncan how slow that 90 is. Is James Shelley going to be the Jeff James of the Sony Cup Series for Season 15? Remember Jeff James, the underfunded driver who drove the 7 car for last season, got second overall in the grid for the Daytona 500 starting grid. And Shelley may upset and actually get the pole, but not no more. Somebody just came across the line and took the pole. And look at this, Zach Flickinger, third in the right now. Dan Johnson, a great run for this 11 team, fourth right now. And second is Zayden Davison in the number 21. And Jacob Hart has the pole for right now. Wow. So these two right here, that's a fast group of cars right there. But boy, James Shelley really took me off guard when he took the pole for the moment there. Whoa, guys. These guys are running up on some slow cars. Jacob Hart, Zach Flickinger. Hart is in the same car he won the ARCSOA Elites Season 4 championship with. And good to see him back in that Dodge. Let's get to some guys that we haven't really talked about all much. Jason Trost, who was, don't really know much about him, but I know over there in the DuPont Cup Series, over there, I remember back in Season 5, I think he won the championship, either came runner-up or won the championship, and I can't quite remember off my head, but we do know that Jason, he is a very good driver over there, but being put in a sorry car here for the Sony Cup Series, not quite sure how he'll do for the Season 15. James Shelley, got to give him props, so to get that 90 team up there in the top 10 right now. Great effort. And here comes Chris Chris Louvier. I think I said that right. It's kind of hard to, it's like a tongue twister for me. Fifth right now, and he just jumped up for his fastest lap there. And I'm getting mixed up from the Season 14 drivers. Jordan Davis ran his fastest lap last lap with 9th. And Noah Hart did really well. Noah Hart, Jacob Hart, right now their teammates for this season. Basically the Season 3 Elite Series cars they had from that season, 9 and 19, 7th right now. And Matthew Fuller doing really well, the rookie, he's in 15th. Zachary Brown in the, I don't even think that is who's supposed to be in the number 29. I think it's supposed to be Zachary Fitzwater, and it looks like we got another spin, and I can't quite tell who it was. We're going to have to get a replay of that, but that is supposed to be Zachary Fitzwater, not Zachary Brown. We'll get that name changed. That's a little bit of technical difficulties from us, but Zachary Brown was a Season 4 driver, but that is supposed to be Zach Fitzwater. That is Zach Fitzwater driving. Eugene Demax is 16th on the board, driving the car he drove for the first time ever in the Sony Cup Series, back at this very same track for the Season 1 finale. 16th right now. Dom Capps making his return to the Sony Cup Series, running 6th right now. And his teammate, Vince Allen. You know Vince is quite happy to be back in a good car. drove the O2 team last season. Didn't do very well for them, finished 40th in the standings. Brandon McGuirk did not do very hot in this car last season. He finished 29th, could have done better. And here comes Kyle Collins, or not Kyle Collins, I get these guys mixed up from last season. Trent Daughter, 28th on the board right now, trying to improve. Charles Jackson, one of the first few guys to get out on the racetrack, is right now 22nd, along with the 15 up in front of him, Kyle Collins, 24th. Here's Raymond Fisher, back in the same car he drove for his rookie season, and is not looking too strong in the qualifying right now. As the guy who drove the 10 last season, James Shelley, ended up getting 31st in the standings last season in this car, which is actually quite impressive, looking back at how poorly this car ran last season. James Orfox leads the 38 car of Charlie Fibrosis, and Jesse Turner. Fibrosis heads to the pits, one of the rookies. Turner, number 27, did really bad last season. He had a really bad season, and all he's hoping for is to hope and try and get himself a better season what he had. He got 43rd in the standings last season, and another season with the same 27 team. Jesse's got to hope for some better luck than last time. Matthew Rodriguez, this last season, Daytona 500 champion, not having a very good qualifying effort right now. Him and James Shelley coming back on the racetrack together. He's 38th right now. Charles Sanford, 39th as well. Jordan Davis doing very well, the season 7 champion. Alan Cavanaro moving over to the 18 team, replacing Luke Martin. Funny thing about it is, with Luke Martin that drove the 18 car, this is going to be the first time ever in the Sony Cup Series that Luke Martin is not in a Sony Cup Series race. So, that is quite impressive there, that Luke Martin has went so long in the Sony Cup Series, has never missed a race. And he's going to miss this first race here at Daytona. PJ Williams is going to, right now, 26th. Jacob Hart is looking so strong right now. Still, right there, 21st. But boy, these guys are getting really close together. There's a bunch of underfunded drivers up here. Zayden Davison, one of the underfunded drivers that was fighting to be in the championship fight last season, is right now 2nd. Zach Rogers, a rookie as well, driving number 7 car. Boy, they're really close again with Jeff James and Zayden Davison. They're trying to get as much run as they can. Jeff James got 2nd last time in the qualifying session last season. The 01 car, Ian Dutta, ended up coming out runner-up for the championship, got put in an underfunded team. And Dutta, you know he's not going to be happy about that, being put in that crappy car right there. Bassinger did not have very good of a run last season in that car. But Bassinger actually finished 33rd in the standings. And the 7 car, Zach Rogers getting underneath Jacob Hart. Dan Johnson, a rookie, doing really well in the number 11, 4th right now, with Zach Flickinger making his return to the Sony Cup Series, 3rd right now. He and Dutta nearly hits the wall there. Eric Burton up to 21st. John Skabnicki, Skabnicki's had a career of being in underfunded teams. Last season was the only team that he really was in good equipment, but this season he's not in good equipment again. And there's Chris Washer replacing Chase Creevy for this season. He drove the 5 team last season, and Washer ended up finishing 12th in the standings last season. Vince Allen leads the 23 Matthew Fuller and Eugene Demax. 8th right now is Vince Allen. Vince and Alex had terrible runs last season, the uncle and the nephew, but now they're in quite the good cars. They're actually not very, very good cars, but they are in cars that can contend for wins, especially on super speedways. They have very good chances at winning on super speedways, but on regular speedway, it's going to be a little bit of a toss-up, probably midfield racing, as you can say, for Vince and Alex. Same would go for Eugene Demax. That 43 car is not the very fastest. Same with Matthew Fuller. So these 3 cars right here are going to probably have their best showings this season on super speedways. They may have good runs in speedways, maybe get top 10s, top 5s, maybe a surprise win on speedways. But they're running up on William Duncan, who's 12th right now, and behind him is Kyle Collins, and Charles Jackson, who have jumped up right now, 14th and 17th. Chris Washer returns to the racetrack. Dom Capps is 6th still, all by himself. Well, I guess qualifying is over, and I did not notice it, as, yeah, it pretty much snuck up on me, but qualifying is done. So, who is going to start on the pole and start on the outside the front row in the pole for Gatorade Duel number 2? Jacob Hart and Zayden Davison was able to hold off them guys and hold on to the top 2 rows. Jacob Hart, who had 2 wins last season, really had a surprise. Jacob Hart, surprisingly, when everyone wrecked his Injultus, he was able to jump and get a win there. And especially at CIS, when there was a big wreck on the last lap on a green-white checkered, Jacob Hart came from nowhere to get a win there. And he's back in a championship running team, especially the championship running car he won in Season 4 in the Elites. Zayden Davison, who did really well last season for an underfunded team, he's going to get himself a 2nd place. If them guys do not wreck in the qualifying sessions of the Gatorade Duels, they will keep their front 2 starting positions. Zachary Fitzwater and Zan Johnson is going to line up 2nd in their Gatorade Duels. Chris Louvier, I think I said that right. And Dom Capps are going to start 3rd in their Gatorade Duel. Noah Art, Vince Allen, 3rd in their Gatorade Duels. Then Jordan Davis and Zachary Fitzwater. That's Fitzwater, not Brown. Fitzwater. It's going to start right there, 4th in their Gatorade Duel. If you are an odd number, like Zach Fitzwater or Eric Burton, you will start in Gatorade Duel number 1. If you are an even number, like Dan Johnson or Eugene Demax or PJ Williams, you will be starting in Gatorade Duel number 2. And for the rest of the starting field, down here, Sean Perkins really did not have a good qualifying effort. Neither did Raymond Fisher or Alex Allen. But qualifying doesn't really mean a thing in the qualifying. It just means about the Gatorade Duel and the 500 itself. Because no matter where you start in the Daytona 500, you have a chance at winning it. If you are able to hang in the draft, you have a shot at winning the Daytona 500. The Gatorade Duels is coming up, guys. See you then.